Yeah, buddy. That music means it is time for a little crunch time here. We got a weird slate. No grinders live. A bunch of small slates. But we're here. We're going to help you with some content. And as always, the show's sponsored by Fanduel. It's RotoGrinders Crunch Time. It's the show where we have two of the sharpest minds in the biz. So we got the one, the only Dave Potts. Cheese is good in the house. What up, Cheese?
Hey, not too much. Let's talk to Squirrel.
Yeah, I was kind of getting you out of the way first. No offense, because the big conversation needs to be had with this man right over here, who you had a pretty decent night the other night. You want to talk to us about it?
Sure. Yeah. No, it was Monday Night Football won the $1 million on.
Let's go.
Day, so.
Sorry.
no
won
longer,
the millie.
Yeah. No longer the guy that does shows with the Millionaire Makers. I mean, the guy, one of the guys that won one myself. So that felt good. But like I said, I put this out there, on RotoGrinders, but it's not a coincidence. I was doing a show Monday night, as the slate lock, the pre-lock show with a guy, in head chopper that has won $1 million at a football contest. Doing a baseball show tonight, with a guy in Cheese. It's done, 1, 2 million, millionaire baseball contest. That's what we do here. So I'm glad it could be part of it.
Yeah,
that cool. Is what we do here.
That is. Yeah. Between the three of us, we've got 3 millionaire winners.
Yeah.
Sadly, I'm not included in that. We got 2 over here and 1 over here. That is so cool. Brandon says, first off, congratulations, everybody in the chat, giving you love. Your lineup construction was awesome. In the one that won, you faded the 95% owned running back. You faded the high owned quarterback. You want to talk about that briefly?
Yeah, we talked about it on the Monday night show that I really liked Bryce Young. There was no separation between the quarterbacks, but people just are going to click on the highest projected quarterback. So there was no reason to have a bunch of
if I may interject, what he's trying to say is projections are meaningless, even in football. That's what he just said. So I just want to clarify, just flat out say it.
We can do that on a show when Cardi's not on. Yeah, so just and Bryce Young was making his home debut, number 1 pick in the NFL draft. No reason for him to be 5% owned or 8% owned or whatever he was. Right. 4 quarterbacks, I had them all about 25%. I guess I had Bryce Young a little bit more, I think, and Carr a little bit more. And then I had 50-something% Nick Chubb. He was one of the highest projected guys on the slate, and obviously a horrible injury, and I don't feel great about winning the slate when somebody had a devastating injury like that. But I had 50% of them. Just the field had 85.
So he was 90% owned in that contest. Yeah,
that's amazing. I think he was in the upper 80s. So and then you're trying to beat however many 100,000 people. You've got to take somewhere. So I had 75 lineups with Nick Chubb in them. And it was one of the other 75 that won.
That is fantastic. I do want to, we'll get to some baseball content shortly here. I do want to point out, Brandon Leach in the chat says, can we discuss Squirrel's tweet that you had the day earlier? I think it was the day of or the day before, right?
No, we were watching. because I was watching the games, and I think in the third quarter of the first game.
It was during the game. I didn't realize
during
that.
The games, the 4 highest scoring players were the 4 defenses, across the 2 games. There was no offense, and it was just kind of brutal to watch. I think that was even before Chubb got injured. I sent out that tweet oh god, when does NBA start? Come on. Then I was no, never mind. Football's good too. And like I said on the Monday night show, right? There's always money to be won. So
That is so. I guess my final question, look, you have gone to every live final in existence for the last multiple years. You've now checked off the $1 million win. What's next? Is there a next thing that you're aiming for?
He wants to be the weatherman. He wants to be the
weatherman. You want to take my job next?
Be able to predict the weather. No, I do. I have two big things on the bucket list. I want to win a DK live final, and I want to win a football live final. So if I win a DK football final, then that.
So you named 2 things, but you could do them both at once.
Yes, exactly.
Be happy with that. Okay.
That seems like a solid goal. I wish you the best of luck, and I have all the freaking confidence in the world in you. I feel like you can make that happen.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Hey, good stuff, man. Let's see. Yeah, just getting some love in the chat, getting some goat emojis and all that, and rightfully so. You've just been doing an incredible job, and we're just grateful to get to pick your brain here, whether we're talking, NFL, NBA, or what we're doing tonight, which is talking baseball. We're happy to have you, man.
Thank you. Yeah. No, and we got like 24 minutes until Fanduel lock, and we got some baseball to talk about. So
let's not. Enough said. I do have to talk weather, but it's a weird one. It's not your typical weather talk that I give. At least I hope it's not. We're going to start off likely dry in St. Louis. It's the only game with any rain risk. And then at some point, this low pressure around St. Louis is going to fire up some storms. And wherever they fire up, they're basically going to sit for the remainder of the night. And there is a legitimate chance that could happen on the ballpark, and the game goes a handful of innings. I think there's a greater chance that they either the Storms just miss the ballpark, or they go up and just drift far enough away so that they can finish the game. But I wouldn't be fully shocked if we don't get a full game in St. Louis. And I don't have a great answer as to how many innings are we going to get. There's not a whole lot of rhyme or reason that I can give you in this. I think if you want to play it in GPPs, like, I'm absolutely okay with that. On a small slate, you just have to understand that things could go south in it. I've got it as yellow-orange. I think it probably works out. Mindful guidance is often on sprinkles all day in St. Louis. Yeah, and those sprinkles are clearing out, and then you get the chance for storms later tonight. These scenarios usually end up working out, but you have to know that there's a shot that it could go south. And I'm not, 10 minutes before the game, I'm not going to know any more than I do right now. Like, that's just the nature of this kind of setup. That's all I've got. Cheese, is that, I know it's not great.
So the big picture on that game, that is probably the two best offenses on the slate, or two of the three. And it's such a small slate. I'm not even considering the weather risk. I'm just playing them. I'm playing them as one-offs, as stacks, as mini stacks. Like, I'm not changing a single part of my plan for that, because the slate is just not big enough to do it. And I'm just going to hope that other people do. Maybe they're not quite as chalky as they would have been. It's not like they're miles ahead of all the other games. Essentially, every offense and almost every pitcher is a virtual tie. Like, it's one of those slates. But those are the two worst pitchers on the slate. And so those are the two offenses I'm going to start with. And I'm leaving them all in there.
I think that's fair. Like, you mentioned it specifically on a smaller slate. Hey, girls, daddy loves you. All right. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, it's on a smaller slate. Like, you don't have a whole lot of options, especially if that's going to be the best game. Squirrel, you have anything to add there weather-wise? You planning on doing the same, or you think you're going to fade it?
Basically the same. It's actually a little convenient. You're kind of saying it's going to start dry, because like we'll start getting hitting stats, and like I would have no interest, even with like only 8 pitchers or whatever. Just not interested in the pitchers. So that makes it easy to just cross off the pitchers entirely and just say that there's like too much risk. They would like pitch an inning and then come out. Whereas like the offenses would maybe linger a little bit longer. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does. It does. Yeah.
Again, so I'm maybe a little bit under the field. Like, they're not my highest owned offenses, but they're middle of the pack of what is a small pack.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well, with that out of the way, let's dive into what some of the pitchers are. And I do want to add this note from that part in the YouTube chat, which I love. He says, I love how these guys are all about the business. I've never found myself thinking this guy or that guy. Let me scroll up. It just moved through. This guy or that guy thinks he is God and or thinks he is so good. And like, that's one thing I'll say. A couple of the humblest $1 million winners in the business right here. And agreed. That is a noteworthy thing and a little feather in your guys' cap. Kudos.
I'll also say we've won a crazy amount, me and Squirrel. We've also lost a lot. Like, that helps humble. It's not like we just out here winning every day. Like, like, don't forget that either.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, we're, and like most days I lose at GPPs, but when you win, if you can win, win $1 million when you win, then that you lose for a few weeks and like, sometimes a whole month. And then, but then sometimes you hit it big, and that's what we do.
Home run swings. You're trying to take it all down here. Well, let's take it all down tonight. Let's start with pitchers. Cheese, you want to go first here, pitcher wise?
So I mean, kind of, but like, there's 10 pitchers on the FanDuel slate, all 10 are playable. I'm not playing the guys in the St. Louis game, and it's not because of the weather. It's because they're the last two on the list. And we're not stretching for salary. I don't think you have to go below Aaron Savali for salary purposes on FanDuel, which means basically you spend up for Gaussman, Steele, or Senga. I have a little bit of Mitch Keller too, though he's clearly the last. Or you save money with Aaron Savali. To me, Michael King is more of a DraftKings play, although he's been really super great. So I think he's fine-ish on FanDuel. But essentially, my pool is Gaussman, Steele, Senga, where I'm actually favoring Steele and Senga ahead of Gaussman, and then Savali. And there you go.
Okay. Did just get news in that Vlad was scratched, and I wonder if that matters for pitchers, if we were considering a pitcher there, and if maybe they get.
So that's the Michael King situation. Honestly, it does nothing to change him. It's still like he's totally fine. Like if you were playing a whole bunch of Aaron Savali and you don't want to play that much Aaron Savali, you would pivot to King. And, you know, or Yuri Perez is kind of in no man's land and also fine. Like all these pitchers are pretty good. And I wouldn't yell at you for any one of the 10 pitchers on this slate.
Yeah. Losing Vlad, is that like, all right, you are now avoiding a bat that can go yard on you, but you're also avoiding a guy that has a pretty good shot at getting a strikeout or two? Is that?
No, that's not even the kind of player. He's unlikely to strike out and not that likely to home run.
Well,
it's
great analysis, Kevin. Okay.
So it changes nothing for me, honestly.
Okay.
Zero.
Okay, that's fair. Squirrel, what are you doing here pitcher-wise?
Yeah, I think it's hard to get away from exactly what the analysis that she's had. It's Kevin Gaussman, Justice Steele. I have some Aaron Savali and Cody Senga, and then I have like a sprinkling of Yuri Perez, Michael King, and Mitch Keller. But like the thing with Michael King is he's really unlikely to go into the sixth inning. He just has not done that this year. They're just pulling him out to the fifth inning, even if he has a great game. And so that takes away his chances of getting the quality start. And then like he's just much more of a DraftKings play because you need two pitchers on DraftKings, and there's also like less games on DraftKings. So he is relevant on DraftKings. I would just have, I think, maybe like 5% of him on FanDuel.
Okay, fair enough. Let's talk about some of the backs and stacks. And Squirrel, you can lead us off there, and then keep in mind that we're talking two different slates here, so I'm sure there's some differences.
Sure. Yeah. So I think that the top stack on FanDuel is going to be Tampa Bay. So that's and I actually have the most of them. And even like in single entry, I think I'd be inclined to use Tampa Bay. Then everybody else I have as being a notch below them. I probably like the Mets the most after Tampa Bay, and then you probably get to Milwaukee, but that's the game that's got the rain, so maybe you're knocking them down a little bit. And then I do like the Marlins after Milwaukee.
Very good. Cheese, you got some thoughts?
Because of the pitcher situation, right? Essentially, I like all 10 pitchers, which means I kind of don't like all 10 offenses, if that makes sense.
Sure, yeah.
And, I said Milwaukee and St. Louis are my two favorite, although the Cardinals have a really watered down kind of nonsense lineup. It's basically Goldschmidt and a bunch of who in the world are these people. So I really don't love them. And Milwaukee's not great against lefties. I know people don't like to hear this. Like people want some super strong take. I have an even split of all 10 offenses. That's what the honest truth is about this slate. If I was doing one lineup, I would have a Tampa Bay stack and one off surrounded.
Yeah. Okay. That's easy enough. Pittsburgh stack, Eric says, and is that just in your?
They're one of the teams.
They're right there. All right. Quick note here. Crunch time. This show's free. It's presented by Fanduel. Get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you bet $5 for new users in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 and up. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Just a cool little deal going on from our sponsor site. Big ups to Fanduel for sponsoring this show. Hit them with a little thumbs up. We want to keep this show free for you guys. There's got to be a lot of eyeballs we need to hit the like and the subscribe. And then we'll hopefully get to keep the show free for another season. That would be the plan. So make sure you're getting that thumbs up for us to do that. Squirrel, did I cut you off when I started my read there? Did you have some insight?
Sorry, I started doing ad reads on my Friday show, and I'm like, I realize how difficult it is. Like one of those things you wouldn't think would be difficult, but and this one's got states.
Can I just say your Ticketmaster read on the Friday show, like it was radio quality. Like if that was my job to find people to do voiceover reads, I would hire you. That was fantastic.
Yeah, no, it is. It's like they're so like unsubtle. And then I did a Saturday show, and H3 Buddha, like Mike Brown has to do like that read, and it's like that is atypical with all the states. But anywho, I was just gonna say Pittsburgh and the Angels. I think in terms of the stacks, I have them like a little bit of a notch below everybody else, and it is tempting to go like always find like a really really low owned stack. I think if you're really going down like the list of implied run totals. I have some like Pittsburgh and Angel stacks, but just a little bit less than everybody else. And I like the Yankees and the Mets like as the lower owned stacks, and like the Yankees in particular, like they're going against Gaussman, and so like I don't think people are gonna own them like maybe as much as they should. And like Gaussman has like had earlier in the season he was like striking out everybody, not so much lately. So there's an argument of like either playing him or playing a Yankee stack in your lineup.
Okay. I did actually. That was perfect timing. We got a question just about Yankees and Gaussman. And then one more question. We're going to go around the horn because we've only got like 12 minutes until lock here. Single entry stack. Which one are you playing if you're trying to win it all? Squirrel, you can go first. Is it the Yankees?
Yes. No, I'd probably go Tampa Bay. Like I'd go with the Rays. But then like maybe you pair them with like Aaron Judge or a Yankees like mini stack or something like that.
Very nice. Cheese, your thoughts? One stack to win it all?
Yeah, Tampa 1, Milwaukee 2.
Okay, very good. Let's do it. We'll start things going. As Cheyenne says, is the weather okay in the Cardinals game? This is, I mentioned this off the top. I don't know. I don't think it's bad enough that you should just ignore it on such a small slate. Like, yes, it could absolutely bite you in the ass. There's going to be some storms that pop up, and I can't tell you where they're going to pop up. On the ballpark or near the ballpark, I don't know. I won't know until it's too late. That's just the nature of the weather here. But on a slate like this, I think you just got to cross your fingers and do what you think it's going to win and kind of hope it works out. Cheese, let's start catcher, and then we're going to jump positions because of the limited.
Yeah, so we're just going to do FanDuel right now because that's coming up. So I'll combine catcher and first. Pete Alonso, far and away my favorite play. Very much like Yandy Diaz. Love William Contreras. I'm going to stop there. There's almost everybody on the board is playable, but those guys jump out.
Okay. Squirrel, do you want to then take us to second base?
Oh, sure. All right. Second base. I like the Tampa Bay stack. So Paredes with Tampa Bay, Gleyber Torres with the Yankees, and Ronnie Mauricio with the Mets.
Okay. Geez, that brings you to third. Unless if you got some names at second that weren't mentioned.
No, that's good. So we've already mentioned Yandy Diaz and Paredes. They are both eligible at multiple positions, including third. Mm-hmm. I kind of like them at the other positions better. I like Josh Donaldson a lot, and I like Christopher Morel.
Okay. Squirrel, your thoughts at short?
So yeah, Francisco Lindor and Ronnie Mauricio, both with the Mets, but like Mauricio is like eligible almost everywhere. Like second base, short, and third. Willie Adames, but he is in the weather game, but he's like one of the higher Milwaukee players that have got rated. It's like he's maybe one of the reasons you want to be playing that game, despite the possibility of weather issues. And then the next guy after that would be Nico Horner with the Cubs.
Okay, very good. That brings us to the outfield already. Are we in the outfield? Jeez.
Yeah. If you got a little money, which there's a lot of ways you end up with a lot of money, Judge and Bellinger are my two favorites with the Arozarena kind of right there. Almost all of my FanDuel lineups have one of those three guys, just because it's kind of easy to get. But I kind of prefer playing them outside of stacks just so they're a little bit different. Mid-rangey, Newt Barr, I like a lot. All the Cubs outfielders are fine. Brian Reynolds is fine. Stanton's a little cheap, even against Gaussman. And I don't really love like going super cheap in the outfield outside of stacks. Like I want to stay in that sort of 3K and up range.
Okay, Squirrel, you got any other outfielders you want to throw in there?
See, yeah, like I think Rosarina and Judge are the highest projected guys, and I think they're actually going to be the guys that I'm using as one-offs most often. Then yeah, a couple of the Marlins, Jorge Soler and Jazz Chisholm, and then you start to get to like Mark Canha, who's leading off for the Brewers.
Very good. Hey, we zoomed through that. We still have 8 minutes here until FanDuel lock, and then we got the DK lock. We're going to take some questions, in particular if they're FanDuel questions, and then if we don't, we'll run it back through a DK.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. If you got some questions, get them in. We got a few coming in already. Eric says, "You guys said Pitt was your least favorite stack. They're popping for me."
Yeah. So I'll say that I like them more on DraftKings, but on FanDuel, they're probably my least favorite or second least favorite. Just on DraftKings, you need the salary more, so they're cheap. So, and any team can do well. Like on DraftKings, there's a higher chance that you need that salary up. So they aren't necessarily the highest scoring stack, but they're highest for the price, points per dollar. So they're more appealing on DraftKings, and there's also 2 less teams on DraftKings.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Mike DiPolo says, "Cheese, no Will Smith for the Dodgers." Is that
right. So that's going to be DK only. So we'll get to that in a second.
Okay, great.
That's the late
Matt
game
Halls.
that is not on the FanDuel slate.
I see. Okay. Matt says, "Hey, Cheese, on tiers, you prefer bets or Judge?" So assuming they are equal price, I guess.
Bets.
Okay. FanDuel GPP question here. Cheese, do you like a Blue Jays Yankees game stack? Keeping in mind that a game stack is not a real thing. Do you like those two teams individually? But together.
I mean, sure. They're in the sense that I like all 10 teams, but those two are not in my top 5 of the 10. But I have all 10 teams at almost the same level. But officially, no, they don't really jump out to me.
Okay. FanDuel cash question. This is Squirrel. Disregarding weather, do you want Adames or my boy Boba Fett straight up at 3K?
I would do Adames.
Okay. Very nice. See what else we got here. Doing pretty good. I think we're actually
I just want to say the way Aside spelled Adames, it really should be that way. It took me 5 years to figure out how to pronounce it with him having an E in his name. So I'm all for everyone spelling it that way from now on, because that's
if you could just spell everyone's name phonetically for me, that'd be a huge help.
I'm fully on board.
Yeah. But not like the fake one, not like Haywood Shabloomi and all the other, not those, the real names, phonetic. That works for me. We'll give the folks maybe 10 more seconds here. And if not, we'll zip through what we're going to do over on DK and we'll kind of do it in the same style. Not seeing any fresh questions. Here we go. Eric says, "What are your thoughts on Miller pitching for Dodgers in single entry? Is that again DK?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so let's go through DK. Yeah, let's kind of go through DK. Cheese. I guess we'll just start around the horn.
And if someone pops in a FanDuel question, you can stop us.
That sounds good.
So Eric kind of stole the lead with Bobby Miller there. That's the main difference between the two slates is you remove a whole bunch of good pitchers in the early games and you add Bobby Miller, as well as getting Michael King super cheap. So Michael King is viable on DK. But I think the way I look at this is Gausman is really not worth 11.2 compared to the guys under 10K. I like Steele and Bobby Miller essentially even with Gausman, and they're more than $1,000 less. So to me, Steele Miller that should just be one guy's name, Steele Miller. But Justin Steele and Bobby Miller would be my go-to combo. If I were doing cash games, it would definitely be those two. And then I would play a little more Mitch Keller on DK. But I definitely prefer Bobby Miller over him. Really every pitcher on the slate is viable. Zach Thompson, Adrian Hauser, Reese Olson are completely playable. If I was doing 100 lineups, I would absolutely have all of them in there. I'm not, so I don't. And I have mostly Steele and Miller with King where I need the salary. But that's how I look at this slate.
Okay. Squirrel, your thoughts there at pitcher on DK?
Yeah, it is. I mean, there's only 8 of them. I don't necessarily like the idea because like the pitchers in the weather game are probably my 2 least favorite pitchers. Maybe like 2 at the bottom 3. So like kind of taking out those 2, like there's only 6 other guys left, and like
Yeah.
4 of them I think really stand out above the rest. With a 5th being like so Kevin Gausman, Justin Steele, Bobby Miller, and Michael King. And then yeah, I think you need some Mitch Keller. I'm just avoiding the other 3 guys entirely.
Yeah. Okay. Let's. Are the stacks different? We got to talk about stacks again, Squirrel.
It is.
Yeah, it's different. So you don't have Tampa Bay. Hold on, it's a different spreadsheet for me. Yeah, you don't have Tampa Bay. I like the Cubs.
I've got them in the same notebook. It's way easier.
Yeah. So yeah, I like the Cubs. I like the Yankees. Yeah, there's just not a lot of teams. I don't. Yeah, I think you can use Pittsburgh a little bit more. They're not in the weather game and they're very cheap, and you need the salary a little bit more on DraftKings. But yeah, then right there, I just named 3 out of 8 teams. So.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Cheese.
So it's interesting with the Dodgers. I mean, they're the Dodgers, and it's a 4-game slate, and all the other teams are kind of facing good pitchers, and it seems like the Dodgers should be the top team, and I guess they kind of are. But Reese Olson is actually good, and even with Will Smith out, they're still expensive if you want to play the top bats. And so they don't stand out above the Cubs, the Brewers, at least the Cubs and the Brewers for me. I would put them like in a 3-way tie kind of with the Cubs and Brewers.
Okay, good enough. Let's go around the horn. Start with some catcher talk. Cheese. What do we like?
We like William Contreras. He's definitely my top play. He was my top play even with Will Smith in. William, the Brewers version of the brothers Contreras.
Mm-hmm.
The St. Louis version is totally fine as well. If you need to punt, like I would play Austin Wells, I guess. But I mean, no, I'd play Young Domes ahead of him, I guess. But essentially, it's Contreras or just the guy in your stack, and that's really all I'm doing at catcher.
Okay, we got 2 quick FanDuel questions. Let me get to them. Cheese, Adames or Bichette FanDuel cash?
Adames.
And then GD says Squirrel, Lindor and Tauchman is FanDuel GPP. Lindor, Tauchman, or Soler and Horner?
Do Lindor and Tauchman.
Very good. Okay. That brings us to Squirrel. You can either touch on catcher if you'd like, or we can jump to first base and we can skip positions here.
Yeah, I think we just go to first. I think, yeah, like Cody Bellinger, Freddie Freeman, Vlad Guerrero's now scratched. I have them kind of as the top 3 above everybody else. Then if you're really looking to save money, my top is like Lucan Baker, who's hitting 6 for St. Louis.
Okay,
He's
great.
2000.
Also a great name. Lucan Baker is just a phenomenal name. Yeah. I approve of that.
Really
Cheese, what do you got at second base?
I got Mookie Betts. Well, I don't love the Dodger stack. If I'm playing one guy, it's kind of always going to be Mookie Betts. He's super expensive. He is also Mookie Betts, so do that. Torres is fine. For cheap stuff, it's all jumbled enough that I would just go all the way down to one of these Cardinals jokers. I would like you actually, Kevin, to tell me who I kind of like for $2,000 at second base for the Cardinals.
Hunel Querecuto.
Yep. And I do actually legit kind of like him as a punt. Like it's not just that he has a cool name, which he does. But he's an old guy. Like this is not some kid who's a prospect, but like he's got a little power and a little speed, and like he's probably better than a minimum salary guy. I'm fine punting if I can't get up to Betts.
It's crazy that Betts. I mean, the price difference is fairly absurd. Like 2K,
you can get 3.5
3 times.
Those.
Yeah. It's like no one should be that much more expensive than any other player. It feels that's kind of wild to me. Okay, very good. Squirrel, anything you want to add there? You want to jump us to third?
Yeah, we can go to third. So I think Max Muncy is going to be my highest rated guy. Then Brian Hayes, he's actually he's a pirate that I really like. And then Josh Donaldson and Matt Chapman with the Brewers and Blue Jays respectively.
Okay. Eric has asked this question like 7 times. I was going to get to it eventually, but hang on, just got a RotoGrinders alert. DJ Stewart scratched. Is that? I don't even know what.
That game's already started, so I don't know that helps.
Okay. All right. Eric says, hey, no chance that this Tigers pit stack wins at all. There's a shot, right? You said you kind of like everybody a little, sort of.
Yeah.
Or hate
I mean,
everybody.
there's a chance for anything to happen on a small slate. That's literally the least likely combo to happen, but that doesn't make it impossible to happen. But I would say it's the least likely of any combo you could pick.
Gotcha.
Daniel says,
yeah, right. It's super low ownership. Daniel says you had roughly 30 seconds to react to the Stewart scratch. Fun times. That's frustrating. Yeah. Okay, Squirrel, I think we're on to you at third base.
No, I think I just did third. It was Max Muncy, Brian Hayes, Donaldson, and Matt Chapman.
What you said was so good, we want to hear it again.
Yeah. Okay, how about shortstop?
Shortstop. So yeah, Willie Adames is my top ranked. Then Anthony Volpe with the Yankees, and then Dansby Swanson with the Cubs, and then after that I would get to Bo Bichette.
Okay. Chase in the chat would like a weather breakdown. We'll do it shortly. Let's run through the rest of these positions. Cheese, what are we doing wherever we are now? Outfield?
Outfield, yeah. Similar to Fanduel, we basically replaced Randy Arozarena with Mookie Betts or JD Martinez. But like Judge and Bellinger, to me, are the two spend ups. I would definitely play Betts at second. I would lean to, I guess, if the ownership, let me look at both ownerships here. Yeah, they're pretty close. I wouldn't really use ownership as a deciding factor between those two. I'll lean to Judge ahead of Bellinger, but to me, those two are fantastic. And like if you're doing something weird, like a cheap pirate stack, like to me, the whole reason to do it is to play like Judge and Bellinger together, or two of Betts, Judge and Bellinger. The cheap Brewers and even a couple Cardinals, but especially the Brewers with Canna and Tyrone Taylor, my favorite values in the outfield. On the other side of that game, Richie Palacios, 2,500. Kevin Biggio's on my board, and that's kind of it.
Okay. How about some home run picks? I'll give a weather update and we'll get to some questions. That sound good?
It really does.
Yeah. Okay. Squirrel, you want to lead us off with a little home run pick, a little squirrel nuts?
Hold on. Give me a second on the squirrel nuts.
Yeah.
I will go. Has anybody home run? Anybody hit a homer in the FanDuel slate yet? I'll go with Anthony Volpe.
Okay, very nice. Cheese, you got a name for me?
Yeah, I was just going to look at that too. That's sneaky. I already got it. So I will go on the high end. I'll take Cody Bellinger, mid-tier Willie Adames, random cheap stuff, Yuniel Carrasquillo.
Yeah, let's go. I love it. Has this guy played before? Is this like his first game up or no?
It's his fourth game.
Okay. All right.
And he has 0 hits with a 42% strikeout rate in 7
Not
at-bats.
great.
Pretty exciting stuff. it's 7 at-bats. I'll give him some time.
Yeah, not ideal. All right. Chase said, hey, could I get a weather breakdown? Sure. It's only St. Louis, and the likely outcome is everything ends up fine. That's probably all you need to know. There is an unlikely outcome where some storms pop up, probably midway or later in the game, and the game is over. Like the rain, once it goes up, isn't coming back down. Even on a big slate, I don't think it's likely enough that you should fade it. And definitely on a 4-game slate or whatever the hell we've got left here, I think you just play it and you understand that there is a low chance of the game not going 9 innings. But a legitimate, could happen Not an impossible scenario, but probably doesn't happen. So that's it. Julio says, "Yo, why does Atlanta never have weather edge? I thought it was an open stadium." It's kind of a long story. It's a bug. The guy who built Weather Edge tragically passed away, and nobody knows how to fix it. It's where we're at. So hopefully that can get adjusted in the off season. But we can't figure it out. So that's all there is to that one. Okay.
I want to highlight a question that you missed. I don't know if it was really a question. It's a comment that I support from my friend Peter Viles.
Yeah.
Why I think we should ask Squirrel more about the Excel spreadsheets. And then he says screen share probably. I like that he said probably. So I think we should do that just as a segment of the shows.
It's just a bunch of like Excel conditional formatting stuff. A bunch of green, yellow, and red that makes sense to me is like information.
Is it like green, yellow, red in Plate IQ? Like green is good, red is bad?
Yeah, exactly. Like green is like a guy that has a good chance to hit a home run, and yellow maybe he won't. Who knows?
Yeah,
and red,
probably not. Screen share or whatever. That's fine.
I don't think we want to screen share his inside information, right?
I think that's the whole point of
that's what the people want.
Comment.
Yeah,
but there also is no like inside information.
Yeah,
all we have is what's in front of us.
Do you make and tweak your own projections, or do you just pull these from RotoGrinders or the bat or whatever and say this is what it is?
It is literally just me pulling from like RotoGrinders and the bat.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's amazing. Game theory matters so much. Like that's the longer I've been in the DFS space, the more I realize how important it is to just not play the best plays. Like just don't do the thing that every fiber inside you screams to do. Like play the best plays. Seems so easy, but don't do that. Oh man. All right. What else do we got here? Achilles says, "Cheese, do you guys who do you like on DK at first if it's not Lucan? And the brothers Contreras you like is of the Williams variety?"
Correct. The Williams variety of Milwaukee is the Contreras I prefer. First base is totally about salary. Like it's fantastic up top. If we're talking DK, if you can afford Bellinger or Freeman, like that's definitely what you want to do. That's fantastic. If you've got somewhere in the middle, I would do Goldschmidt. And if you're saying if not Luke and Baker, then I'm assuming you're saying cheap. If not him, then I would go with Spencer Horwitz as a cheap play.
Okay, very good. Achilles thinks that Squirrel has the sports almanac from Back to the Future. Any truth to that?
No comment.
Yes,
and actually, that conversation actually came up like organically yesterday. Somebody was like talking about the movie, like what they would do, like what would they bring back with them or whatever. I was like, well, maybe just like play a bunch of fantasy sports and win $1 million. And like everybody kind of had nervous laughter.
Let's see. Kenny says Squirrel needs to start a show teaching people how to win $1 million slates. I feel like this could be a good show idea for you two. It'd be like the $1 million maker show.
Well, that's kind of every show we do.
It's there. Let me say this: there's no difference between whether the top prize is $1 million or whether it's $150. There's no difference. It doesn't change the strategy. It's how many entries are in the contest. Affects it, but like
I don't want
a 1,000-person contest with $1 million is the same as you play $1,000 contest with $100.
Yeah. Okay. Eric says, who are your favorite Yankees in DK stack? Squirrel, you kind of like the Yankees more. Top 3 Yankees in a DK stack.
Probably so Aaron Judge, definitely. Then like Gleyber Torres, and then probably Anthony Volpe, but then you could also like just throw in a fourth, like Austin Wells fills the catcher position.
Okay, great. 2 more questions. First, just a straight up baseball one, and then kind of strategy one. Steve says, DK single entry cheese, JD Martinez and Volpe, or Outman and Swanson?
So close. I would Outman Swanson.
Okay. And then a post-lock question, and we'll kind of end it here from K Cool. Make sure you hit us with thumbs up. Did your first or any big wins start affecting your bankroll management, or has it never changed even with those big wins? Cheese, you can go first.
Yeah, sort of. Like I'm not a great bankroll management. Like I play DFS still more for fun than for anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And like I don't have some perfect bankroll management and never did before or after big wins. So I'm not sure if that answers the question. I would say, it never really changed, but it was never like I don't play like spreadsheet based perfect bankroll
Right.
management, nor have I
1%
ever.
every night or whatever it
Right.
is. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. All right. Squirrel, how about you? Your first big win? Were you like, oh, now I can put all the chips in, or how'd it go?
Yeah, actually, I'll say that like almost all of my first big wins were like followed by like, pretty big slides, and I realized that it was a thing I was doing. Like, oh, I'm like leaving more money in the accounts and like entering higher dollar contests that maybe have a sharper field. Yeah, and like maybe different strategy that I should be thinking about. And I don't do that anymore. Like now I like have a big win. I take out enough money where it's basically just the same amount of money in my DraftKings account or my FanDuel account, and I enter the same contests unless I have a reason to do differently.
Yeah, let me like totally reiterate exactly what Squirrel just said. Like if as advice for other players, if you have a big win, exactly what he just said. If you see all that money sitting in your account and you're like, I wouldn't enter this contest, but if I enter another $200, doesn't matter. I'm not going to notice it on that number. Like that's so important what he just said. Like if you're used to seeing that number in the top of the screen, like leave it at that number or decide I'll play a little more, but definitely withdraw after a big win, whatever big is to you. Like,
it's just
very good point.
The mental, just seeing that up there, that big number kind of changes things for you. That makes sense. Okay, very good. Hey, with that, I think we can bounce on out of here. That was kind of a fun way to end it. So let's get on out for Cheese, for Squirrel, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you, and we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.